Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Football Show, sponsored by Arnold Clark. I'm Peter Martin. Alan Rough, Barry Ferguson and Tam McManus are with me. Sun is shining. The mood seems to be getting better, but is it getting any better in Scottish football? We're about to find out on this show. If you like, share and follow us, we will be absolutely delighted if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more, the merrier in the football family here, watching the Football Show Monday to Friday. Lots of news to get our teeth into. Our one-to-one special guest is Ricky Foster, who played at Rangers, St Johnstone, Ross County, and of course at Aberdeen as well for quite a long period. And well worth listening to as well. Some really good insight into some of the burning issues of the moment from Ricky. And of course, if you listen closely, you'll be able to hear his wife, who finds it very difficult not to chirp in with something. She has a wee go in the background as well. So there you have it. It's superstar rock stars and a right back who's looking for a club well worthy of sticking with us. So, Roughie, you know, Ricky Foster had mentioned in the last week or so about the need for clubs to maybe show a bit of solidarity, a bit of togetherness, and try and keep players on contracts, furlough them, extend their deals, help them out in their hour of need. And Wraith Rovers have certainly followed that path.
Yeah, I think most of the clubs are following that path, Peter, and well done to them. You know, there's nothing worse to get freed, but there's nothing worse, you know, in this predicament. You know, you're not going to get a club right away, you know, so even another month that you've got more income, it just gives you a space of time that maybe the phone will ring and it'll take the pressure off, because you can believe there'll be a lot of people on pressure just now. There'll be a lot of, unfortunately, players out of the game, you know, that will find the next 2 or 3 months very, very difficult.
Okay, Tommy McMillan says, Roughie, afternoon from Sussex. Hi to Alan Ruff. I was 14 at the time when we won the League Cup. Isn't it nice that people still look upon you as a legend and still love you, Roughie?
Yeah, well, you're a club like Partick Thistle, you don't get too many cup finals, you don't win many cups, not like Barry and Tam, who've won a few. So, no, if you've just won it the once, you know, people, you know, remember it more than anything else. And it's coming up, believe it or not, next year is the 50th anniversary. So hopefully when everything's moved on, we might get a good year of celebrating again.
Yeah,
get 16. We've got 16 major trophies between us. Barry's got 16.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen Miller has said, I'm from Paisley, Peter. Can you give me a mention on today's show? Of course we can, Stephen. I had a great period when I stayed in Paisley. It was absolutely magnificent. Some of the nightclubs in Paisley will live with me forever and a day. Paris nightclub, Roughie, do you remember that? And Toledo Junction as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that just now. Obviously, you touched on the weather being absolutely fantastic. It's a chance to get out there, maybe a wee barbecue. All we need is a DJ, you know, to sort of on the phone and bring them over, you know, and play some tunes. But they're not easy to get. They're not ready. You know.
I mean,
there's one on our screen just now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Roughie, where can you get a DJ who plays disco music and he throws his wife into the equation as well? I mean, where can you get that sort of DJ?
I don't even know what he charges.
Tam, come on. What's it all about?
My missus done a wee tiki bar thing for a laugh and on Facebook. It was nothing to do with me. It was my wife.
Oh, come on!
It was your idea.
So it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, she done it for a laugh, and it ended up in the Sunday Mail the other day. I was less embarrassed when I was in pissing outside an Oxfam door shop than I was the other day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It keeps the wife happy.
Did your wife go and buy all the copies of the Sunday Mail so nobody would find out?
180.
What I want to know, Tam, is did you keep your wedding suit?
Yes.
You've got to wear it. You've got to come on with it. You've got to let everybody see it. You've got to.
What, is it bad, Roughie?
Oh, it's white. It's all the white gear. It's the film
Is
star
that right?
stuff. It's a white
was,
jacket and a waistcoat and the white trousers and a big flower. Oh, it's tremendous.
Well, listen, the great news for the programme is quite simply this. Before the end of the programme tonight, Tam McManus and his wife will dance at the end of the programme. Hopefully, Tam will sing the song, Heads to the Ground. There is music all around. With a bit of luck, we'll get him doing that. So,
Is it happening this Saturday, Tam? Are you having it this Saturday?
I don't know. You're blocked. You're getting blocked.
Absolutely. Peter Tierney says, don't mention wives. Roughie's volunteered to go and see enough wives already. Peter, you'll never know how right that is, honestly. And I'll tell you right now, I bet you a pound to a penny if your wife Tam was looking to see who's first logged on Saturday night, old Bonzo would be the man. Anyway, now, lots of people joining us, and I'm going to try and give as many a mention as possible on Facebook. Thanks for liking, sharing and following. And the great news is we're on Twitter as well and Periscope. So we're going right across the globe as well. There's so many people following us. I mean, I'm talking about Vietnam, we've had Canada, America, lots of people that I'm going to try and give as many mentions to over the course of this. And of course, our one-to-one is Ricky Foster. Barry, you mentioned it the other day there, and Ruffy's just touched on it there. The old Wraith Rovers to sign 14 players and to keep that going, I think is great.
Yeah, Peter, different class. We've done the same. We were fortunate enough that we had only one player out of contract, and that was Chris Humphreys, the ex-Motherwell and Hibs player. And we have extended his contract to the end of August. I think it's only fair, as we've said on this show plenty of times, Peter, there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of players out of contract, and they're like everybody, they need to pay bills and feed their families. So what Wraith Rovers have done, I think, is excellent, and I'm sure many clubs should follow suit.
Absolutely. Douglas Noon is in Saudi Arabia watching the programme. Douglas, great to have you on board with us on the Football Show as part of the family. Hugh McHugh is in New York City. And James Thompson says, I'm in Peebles, which is a fantastic place. If you ever get the chance to step down there, it's got lots of wee daft knick-knack shops. Ruffy, it would be ideal for you. Antiques aplenty that you could get into your house, Ruffy. You know what you're like with all that furniture there. Mm-hmm. And of course, now, I don't know if you've noticed, by the way, but the bold Baz is,
I see that. I noticed that.
He's
down the wee garden centre. In the garden centre, splashed it now, a wee plant.
Let me explain. Let me just explain this. I had an absolute nightmare on Monday with my Wi-Fi. I phoned BT, complained to them, and my wife's actually a therapist. She's done all her stuff, so she's got a room that she uses. She phones her clients, so I asked her nicely if I could come in and use it. So I'm using my wife's little sanctuary. Yeah, as you can see, look at the plants.
It's really comforting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Relaxed.
Ruffy will be up for a rub next week.
Well, honestly, Tam, I've just written down Ruffy going, wife therapist, yeah, dancer. So, but
no, it's a psychotherapist. She is. She's a psychotherapist. No, I'm a
Ruffy doesn't even know what psychotherapist is. He just knows. All Ruffy heard there was separate house from Barry's main house.
Peter, the last time I invited you to into the house, Ruffy says, where's the toilet? I says, well, you just go to the kitchen door, turn right. Ruffy's went out and turned left, knowing that my bedroom was down there. That's the type of guy he is.
He's top man. Anyway, I don't know if you agree with me. That is a softer look for Barry Ferguson. That's magnificent. Lots to talk about. There's still haggling. I haven't had the absolute 100% confirmation on this, Barry Haji. It's round about nearer the figure you and I were talking about, to be perfectly honest with you. But it'll be a good signing when it eventually goes through. I think Genk have jumped the gun a wee bit on this one.
Yeah, Peter, I mean, when I seen the £5 million quoted, as we spoke about Monday, I thought that was a bit of an extreme fee. I says in between the two £3 million mark, I think would be right. Listen, he's a boy. He's got plenty of potential, Peter. There's no doubt. He showed it in flashes last season. So I think he will in time become a very good signing. But he's still young in terms of football. He's not had a hell of a lot of football under his belt. But for me, he will be a good signing in time.
Yeah, Tam, have a look at his stats. What do you make of him?
I think he's been good. I think he's a very talented young player. He's only 21 years old. He's coming into a big club like Rangers where the expectation is to win every week. It takes a little bit to get used to for a young guy coming into that environment. I'm sure he'll have gained a lot of experience from that. And for £3 million, I think that's a good buy. I think $5 million would have been too much for Rangers, but £2-3 million, I think he's worth that. It's just because of the potential he's got. If he does well at Rangers, they can shift him on, and I think that's the players that Rangers have got to start looking at. Guys at 2021, in that kind of £1 million, £2 million, £3 million bracket, who they can bring in and try and sell on for big money, because it's a model that served Celtic well over the years, and Rangers need to get back to that as well.
Yeah, interestingly enough, if that's a sign of things to come, if they're spending that now, Roughie, in very difficult times, they must have some money to spend elsewhere when that team needs strengthening.
Yeah, well, I think every Rangers fan will think that's the case. They'll appreciate. He is a good player. He's the kind of player that gets round about the 18-yard box. He can score goals, and if they were to sort of delve in that £3 million bracket, they might get better quality than what they've got. So the Rangers fans will be happy with that, but they'll be looking to see what's coming next, because I think they all really know that they need maybe another 2 or 3 really quality players to challenge Celtic.
And Stephen mentioned there, Rangers are going to pay that over a 3-year period, is what he says on Facebook. Nevertheless, over the 3 years, good signing, good player. I like the fact that he can play off either foot. So I think the Rangers fans will be looking on with great interest, thinking, well, how many more of that calibre are coming in? A lot of people coming onto the programme. And I have to say, the other thing I was going to say to you, I'll just mention this briefly. We're delighted that people come on the show, and we also are delighted that people comment. I can't keep up with the people and can't ban everybody who are morons. So all I would say to you is, watch the show, put your point across, don't read the madness, because I had a lot of complaints from people. Just don't read it. Use your common sense, use your intelligence, and brush past the people who are morons who post bile. Eventually we'll get to them, but I couldn't spend my life trying to clean up people who post madness on their site, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. It would do my box in. I think we've all got better things to do than concentrate on some of the dafties who post poison. So I won't be cleaning them all up. I've got more things to do with my life than try and chase people whose head's in the gutter. Anyway, apart from that, I want to mention something now which I think is tremendously sad. Tam, Christian Mbulo dies at the age of 23. I don't know the circumstances of it. The boy, obviously found by the police, a former Motherwell player, and that is an absolute tragedy at 23 years of age, and so many people at Motherwell have been paying tribute to the young man.
Yeah, it's a tragedy at that age. It's a hard time. You don't know the circumstances behind it. He's a young lad who was held in a lot of high esteem by Motherwell. You see Alan Burrows and Keith Lasley and a lot of people on social media who played with him at Motherwell coming out and saying what a good lad he was, what a kind heart he had. So a real tragedy for him and his family. And I can send my condolences to everyone connected to the lad.
Yeah, 23 is way too young, and I know Motherwell, a lot of the players are devastated by the news that came through there. Certainly our thoughts on the Football Show echoing Tam's sentiments there to that young man's family. Christian Mbulu, only 23 years of age. So there's more and more people that are joining us and talking about football. Reconstruction, Roughie, well, they've got the document. Anne Budge has put it together. I could go through, paragraph after paragraph of the construction of what she's saying. She's detailing certain aspects of it as well. Here's the look at the main crux of Anne Budge's proposal, which is 14, 14 and 14. And it'll obviously split into a top 6 and a bottom 8 in the Premiership, although she has mentioned that could change to a top 8 and a bottom 6. Reduced fixtures if it was a top 6 for the top 6 teams, and the option to increase the bottom league to 16 to include Brora Rangers and Kelty. It is quite a detailed, extensive document, Roughie. What angers me is when I read on other media outlets, and I'm not having a go at the media outlets, I'm having a go at basically the chairman and chief executives who are kicking this into touch before it's even, before everybody's got a chance to sit down and analyse what she's suggesting at a time when they don't seem to give two hoots about what we are in at the moment. They can't see the long game. They think they're going to go back to normal 2-3 months down the line. This is a long game, and if it's 2 years, I say back the proposal.
Yeah, you have to say, and I think we've touched on this on numerous occasions, it still seems to be, a lot of people think it's all about Hearts. For me, it's not about Hearts. It's about Scottish football. We keep hearing about the teams for the lower leagues saying, look, we won't survive for 6 months without any income coming in. So you're right, see what the package is, have a look at it, and if it helps you get on board, you're right, Peter. I mean, I don't know if we're going to touch on wee Gordon Strachan's statements over the last couple of days. Some of it are coming to fruition, some of it are, some of the stuff that wee Gordon was saying are true, so a lot of it isn't. But I think some of the stuff, about, teams with ambition and want to look to the future, there's something in that for me, because there's too many teams, now looking at it and going, no, we don't really want to come on board because of this or because of that. Everybody should be buying into anything that helps the game. That's what we're discussing here. We're just keeping everybody and keeping teams on board. And too many teams now are just saying, no, that's not for me, that's not for me. It's the wrong decisions.
No, too many chairmen, Roughie, petty-minded chairmen with either a chip on their shoulder or self-interest at heart, Barry.
Peter, listen, you're bang on what you've said there. It's they've got a chip on their shoulder. For me, I think looking at it, I read it through a number of times, and Bud's proposal, and obviously I'm going to say I like the 14, 14 and 16, but I think what you might see is they might reject the 14, 14, 14, Peter, and go with maybe a bigger Premier League and go 16, 14, 14. I think that may be the way ahead, but I'm with you, and what Roughie says is spot on as well. I think there's far too much self-interest, guys with chips on their shoulder that just think about them and their clubs. We've got to think about the bigger picture here, how Scottish football survives this and how we can move forward and get our game back to some sort of normality.
Yeah, Kevin McFarlane says, when did Anne Budge become a football expert? Kevin's posted this on YouTube. Well, to be honest with you, Kevin, nobody's suggesting for a minute she's a football expert, but what she is a good businesswoman who's looking at the carnage that Scottish football is facing. I think some people, Tam, are daft enough to think we're all going back to the normal 3 months. Once there's a vaccine, everybody steams in and then the money will roll in and all the clubs will be able to survive.
No, it's not going to happen, Peter. We've been consistent on this show from day one that no club should be worse off. Every single club just now is really, really struggling, and nobody should be worse off. You shouldn't be relegating teams now. Putting them down a division when the season hadn't been finished. It's just adding insult to injury. It's rubbing salt in their wounds. So for me, you try and find a positive way of trying putting teams up. Keeping teams up or promoting teams where everybody's positive and looking forward to a bigger season, a bigger league. You're not playing the same teams, 4 times a season again. I think that's boring for players. So listen, Anne Budge is doing everything she can to save Hearts, and she's quite within her rights to do that. And I just hope that we can try and get some sort of normality back, because I look at it as well. It might be a smaller season. It might be an 18-game season. So I just think you don't let players, don't let clubs, be worse off than they are at the minute. Try and promote them and try and be positive going forward.
Peter, can I just say something? I obviously watched the interview you done with Fraser Wishart for the PFA, and he sent out a survey to all the players in all the leagues, and I think he says he come back 75-80% of players wanted reconstruction in Scottish football. You've got to listen to players as well, not just chairman and directors. You've got to listen to everybody.
They're bored of it, Barry. They're bored of it. The same 10 teams, you know.
Yeah,
if you might get them in the cup as well, you might play 5-6 times a season, the same team.
Yeah,
you know,
even more than that, Tam, at times.
Yeah,
even more.
Yeah. Kevin McFarlane has come back and says Budge is at fault. She has not got a clue and stuck with Levine. Down you go. Well, Kevin, you really haven't grasped the situation at all. Nobody is talking about the failings of Anne Budge on the appointment of Craig Levine, or indeed the mistakes that Anne Budge has made at Hearts. That's not the issue, Kevin. You need to think and look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that there were games remaining and Hearts are going to be relegated unfairly. It's as simple as that. Partick Thistle, with a chance to escape relegation, are going to be relegated. So Stranraer are in the same boat. Now, Kevin, if we can enlighten you for a minute, the Scottish football is facing a lot of clubs who might not survive. So it's not just about Hearts, and it's not just about where they are in the league. It's about unfairly relegating them, and then everybody has to pick up the pieces of what could be a financial disaster for clubs. So it's nothing to do with the fact that she made mistakes in appointing people. She still had a chance with her team, despite the fact they were ranked rotten, and I'd watched them quite a lot. They were rotten to watch, but they still had a chance. Just as tomorrow on the show, you'll hear from John McGinn, who's our special guest, and John McGinn is playing with Aston Villa, who are in a similar situation to what Hearts find themselves in. But the difference is, Tam, with the money that they've got in the English Premier League, John McGinn and Aston Villa might be able to play themselves out of danger.
Yeah. Listen, there's a lot of clubs down in England, I think, are bottling it. They'd be quite happy. The teams that are just outside the bottom three would be quite happy for the season to finish. You know, a lot of them seem to be having coronavirus in their team, in their squads. They're desperate, I think, for the season not to continue. But likes of Aston Villa, who are just in the bottom three, you know, they've got to have an opportunity to get out of that. And listen, we've been all for finishing the season, you know, and it looks as if the English Premiership might just go and do that now because of the money they've got for the testing and whatever. It's just not possible up in Scotland, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we've got the statement from Anne Budge. I know she's released a statement with regards to the whole affair and how she's put the reconstruction there. And I want to urge every club to look at this proposal, not as a way to save Hearts, Partick Thistle and Stranraer, but as a way for Scottish football to deal with the current emergency while fighting an unintended injustice. Doing nothing will simply lead to us being forced to take action in the very near future. Creating three bigger leagues means if some clubs can't play this season, there will be sufficient clubs in each league to allow the season to go ahead. We would recommend in January 2022, clubs would be asked to vote whether they automatically revert or to further consider the most appropriate way forward. Assurances have been given by the SPFL Chief Executive that enlarging the Premiership to 14 teams will not be unacceptable to Sky and will not be used as a bargaining tool in any future negotiations. And Roughie, figures that come out today
Yeah, I think Peter was going to speak about the figures backing that up, and I think that obviously that's a major thing was that last paragraph in that article there, where the Sky won't be unacceptable to Sky. Because a lot of people were saying that an extra 2 teams would have ruined that Sky deal, and as you said, Anne Budge just made it clear that isn't the case. So I think that gives her a bit of hope going forward that at least she'll get the Premiership clubs to vote in her favour if they're not going to lose money out of this. The Championship clubs, I think, will be more difficult for her because I think Inverness and Scott Garden in particular alienated a lot of clubs in that Championship with the way they voted and the way they went about the vote. So they'll get promoted in this. So there might be a lot of bad feeling between clubs in the Championship towards Inverness when they're the ones that are going to get promoted into the Premier League.
I think Peter's off.
Yeah.
He's off,
Can
Tam.
Can you hear me?
Yep. I can hear you, Roughie. I can hear you.
You can hear me, yeah. But Tam, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about you know, teams not having a grievance against anybody. We're talking about teams thinking about the bigger picture. And for me, the 2 years of a trial period with you can go back and have another vote if you don't like it. Surely that must appease most of the people to say, right, 2 years, we know if it doesn't work, we can always change it back again. But the worrying thing for me is the clubs are saying, we can't play. I don't know how you'd work that one out, Peter. You know, if it was 14, 14, 16, if then 8 teams for the lower divisions say, no, we can't play, we've not got any players. How do you sort that out?
Well, quite simply, I think the next stage that we're looking at, Roughie, and we've talked about it on this programme, the next stage is if 8 or 9 or 10 clubs from the lower leagues can't continue because of the financial difficulties, the SPFL need to go cap in hand to the government and say, look, we are in a critical position. Can we have money to help these clubs survive in the next 2 years? That's what they've got to do. I think the government may well go back and say, well, wait a minute, how much have you got in your kitty yourself? You help them. That might be the ding-dong battle that will go on here. But sooner or later, somebody is going to have to say, these clubs are in danger of folding. We can't hire any players. Please help us.
Peter, I think they'll just go ahead with the Premier League. I think the lower leagues, I think they might mothball them until January, if I'm being honest. Because they won't be able to survive with no people coming through the gates. So I think that's what will happen. They'll maybe start up when the vaccine's available, and because there's no way that part-time clubs could afford that, Peter.
No, I think you're 100% correct. But again, we have to wait. Each day and each week, Tam, is an ongoing situation where some clubs are not showing their hand right now because they're scared to let everybody know that they're on the edge of the cliff.
Yeah. I think there must be clubs just now, Peter, teetering close to going bust. You know, a lot of clubs, and even Premier League clubs. Honestly, I think it's a real bad situation. But I think the positive is that it seems to be week by week we seem to be getting better news regardless of this virus. You know, the numbers are going down. You know, the infections are going down. The number of people dying are going down. So I think looking forward, it does look positive for us to maybe start back, as Barry was saying, the Premiership in August. I think that's a really, you know, that's a date we can aim for. As Barry said again, the lower league teams, I think, couldn't cope playing closed door games. You know, because obviously they'd have to pay their players as soon as they come back training. Furlough would finish. You know, there'd be no chance of them doing that. But I remain positive, and I thought, we all thought in the show that football wouldn't be played in this country until next year. You know, we were quite firm on that. But I think as the weeks go on now, it's starting to get, you know, closer and closer to maybe getting us back, at least the Premiership back in August, which would be fantastic compared to what we thought it would be.
Yeah, well, and again, Tam, I would reiterate to you, certainly on this show, I think we've said that we didn't think fans would be in the stadium until the new year. But one I think we have been saying continually is there will be football, but it's only on the basis that you can give assurances of testing, tracking, tracing, and a vaccine. Those 4 issues have not gone away, Roughie. We've been resolute in that for months.
Yeah, you're right, Peter. And the more, as Tam says there, the more sort of a kind of positive news you get, the better. No, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Everybody's looking at these phases. You're all looking at, that gives you a wee bit of encouragement. But you're right, you know, that it's the self-policing, you know, and every club has said, look, we can't survive if we don't have money coming through the gates. And that is the case, you know, until somewhere in phase 4, it says something like you're allowed 1,000 people in your stadium or whatever, and the testing might not be as stringent as what it was, you know, three months ago. These are things we've just got to hope. We've really got to hope that they move on, because you're right. You know, if you look at average club. I mean, I'm not financial at all, but you look at a club that's just saying they've got 20 players and an average of £1,000 a week. You know, you can't sustain that. You can't pay out money and you have no money coming in. And 3 or 4, that's nearly £500,000 you're down right away. And these clubs haven't got that kind of money.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I mean, I like Gordon Strachan. I'm a big fan. I really have got a lot of time for him. He mentioned the fact that some people are actually just playing at being professional clubs. They're not really, the part-time and professional in name only. A lot of clubs try to serve their community. I think that's the key issue here. A lot of clubs try to be professional. Some, I think, are guilty of having no ambition. I think, Barry, you mentioned it a couple of days on the show, and it struck a chord with me, and it struck a chord because of what Gordon Strachan has said, which is quite simply, some clubs are just happy to meander with the bare minimum, with the squads, and sitting in the middle of a league or escaping the drop year in, year out. They don't really have the ambition. And I think, with Gordon, you can't have everybody. Gordon's been highly critical of clubs who maybe are kidding on their professional, but what do? Do you tell everybody that there's no right, and if you're not showing it the mega ambition, then you can't continue?
Yeah, I mean, I get where he's coming from. There's no doubt, and I'm sure he would have upset a few people with his comments. I can speak about my club and some of the clubs that are in the Lowland League, and I can hand on heart say they are clear, ambitious clubs who want to go and better themselves every single season. Peter, what I say is about League Two, I think there is some League Two clubs that are happy just to stay in there and not challenge. And as long as they're clear of relegation, they're happy to just go on. Now, for me, I think a club has got to have one focus, and that focus is to always better yourself and try and win a league and try and go better as best as you can. That's certainly for my club. We've got one thing in mind, and we've got a clear path in what we want to do. And I can speak for a number of clubs in our league. And there is lower league clubs, Peter, that have got ambition. There's no doubt about it. But I'm sure Gordon, his comment would have certainly upset a few chairmen.
Peter, Gordon was talking about clubs up in the lower leagues, not paying a lot of money. I think he mentioned part-time teams paying £80 a week or something like that was a quote. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we give everyone an equal split of the money then? Why don't Annan get the same money as Celtic in the league, in terms of the league and TV money? Why don't they give every club the same? Then these clubs can pay their players more money and maybe be more professional and more ambitious. That's what I took away from it.
Well, the problem with that, to be perfectly honest with you, Tam, is we don't live in a utopia where basically you have a situation where there's this wonderful business plan where everybody gets an equal share of the cash, because that's not business. That's not business economics. I mean, at the end of the day, one of the things that we all have to accept in life is football is a business, and there are strong businesses, and there are people. I mean, listen, I'd love that, because that would mean that PLZ Soccer would get an equal share of any distribution of money. I could take on the BBC, Sky and BT on a fair level playing field. I mean, I'd love that type of thing, but that's not the way business works. Sometimes you have to punch above your weight, and I hate to use the old boxing analogy that Martin O'Neill used to say on a regular basis, but we as a company are punching way above our weight just to try and keep a level playing field with the likes of Sky and BT and BBC. We try our best. We try and offer the best of our services, but we understand the business economics of it, Tam. And the reason I mention that to you, Tam, is because I looked at all the leagues today and where we're at now with football and the difficulties, apart from everybody wanting to survive. Just before coronavirus, this is where we're at with football as far as the 5 biggest leagues in Europe right now. We are in a situation where Juventus have won 10 titles since 2000. They've won the last 8 in Italy. So nobody's been able to take the title off Juventus. In Germany, Bayern Munich are going for 8 in a row. They've won 14 out of the last 20 titles in Germany. You go to France, PSG, 7. They've just been awarded the title. 7 titles. Lyon are the only ones that could, live with them as far as titles. In Spain, Barca are in first position. They've won 10 titles. Could win 11. Real Madrid in the last 20 years have won 6. And then the rest of them are all like France, Germany, and Italy. It's 1s and 2s. Atletico, Deportivo, Valencia. And in England, apart from the wonderful story that is Leicester City, with, may I add, an Asian billionaire possibly, who helped them along the way. Manchester United have won 8 titles, Arsenal 2, Chelsea 5, Manchester City 4, and Leicester with 1 in the last 20 years. So we're dealing with super clubs now and then the rest. But here in Scotland, we're not in that league. We are sitting here in a situation where for the last 20 years we've possibly had one club that dominated, another that was on its knees and its history is there for everybody to see. We don't have that same competition. What we've got to do is try and create a spirit where we save our clubs, keep our division strong. Some will rise, some will fall, some will go by the wayside. I'd love to spread the money, Tam, but I just can't see it. It's all about, in our league especially, survival of the fittest.
No, I agree with what you're saying, Peter. I agree with Gordon Strachan and a lot of things that he says, but I just didn't agree with that. He was having a go at the smaller clubs paying £80 a week and stuff like that. You know, that's the money they've got. You know, unless you've got somebody with money behind you, it's going to be pumping money in. Then these clubs, a lot of these clubs paying £80 a week are trying their best.
I was going to say, but should they be penalised and said, well, you're not in our league because you're playing £80 a week? I don't think so. I think that you've got to give everybody the chance to survive.
It's like, Peter, I've got guys at my club on £80 a week, but they're ambitious boys. They want to try and play as high as they can. They're just they turn up every single Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and try their hardest and give me everything. So there is guys at that level. That's where probably I disagreed a bit with Gordon on it, but I could see where he's coming from. But there is clearly, in the lower leagues, there is clubs that have got serious ambition, and there is clubs who are just happy to stay in the league that they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Mary has posted on Facebook, Roughie, she says, I just wonder, Peter, do you have the means with PLZ Soccer to do live commentary from the grounds? That would be brilliant. It would be great to watch it. I wonder, Roughie, if Mary remembers. Do you remember, Roughie, the pain we had with that? Boy, that was a financial pain. And we get absolutely booted in the balls every week by the big guys who didn't want to. And I excuse my language, please, but as Roughie will know, I am, the big boys booted us every week, Roughie, because they didn't like what we were doing.
No, but it's because we were good at what we were doing, and it was better than what they were doing, and they saw you as a challenge to whatever they were doing. And you're right,
a threat.
Was, no. Yeah,
you're a threat, Peter. You're a threat.
Well, it was. Listen, we would love to do
threatening character.
There's nothing better than, say, 3 or 4 of us out at a game, and people can relate to what we're talking about, and actually watching a game taking. You're giving a service to people who can't afford to go to football, and all of a sudden there's people trying to, to take it away from you and take it away from these people. Again, it was double standards.
You could get Barry doing the Champions games as well. Doing the Celtic games.
Listen, I tell you something. I done it with Des. See the Championship. I loved that. I loved that season. Yeah. Getting out and watching teams and boys that I probably wouldn't see playing. And I tell you what, I was impressed with a number of players that I hadn't seen before, Tam. There's a good standard in that Championship. Some good players. I enjoyed it.
You probably signed after him with Kelty.
Do you know what? Did it come? I seen 2 or 3 players. But it was I had a great time with Des.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And he did what he was told, Tam, to be honest with you. He was out there, he was doing pieces to camera the lot. He was well up for. He was magnificent. It was great.
Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Eamon says, could you give a big hello to my brother John, who's in Brisbane, Australia? Eamon, absolutely we can, because we love the fact that people are following us from all over the place. So absolutely superb. Get Michael Ryan's like Tam McManus says, get Barry live from Celtic Park for the Celtic games. To be fair,
I've been there.
But Michael, I'm just about to say to you, Barry's been there. Do you remember the day we all went out to do a live at Celtic Park and Barry brought his Rangers scarf?
That's right. It's a comfort blanket. Comfort.
Absolutely. And
there is a way again. His internet's hopeless.
Peter's away again.
Tam. Me and you'll need to start running this show, Tam.
Aye. We'll
listen,
just take...
Don't worry about it. Don't you two worry
You're on the
about
show
it,
anyway,
honestly.
Barry.
The Tam and Barry show, let's go. Right, Peter, you can go and Roughie can go as well.
It's only a matter of time, Ferguson. It's only a matter of time. I know it is. Hey, listen, I might as well tell you, Barry. Hopefully you're going to do it on Friday. Roughie's going to do it tomorrow. But Tam put together his best 11 players that he's ever played with. Do you want to have a look? There you are, Tam. Talk us through it.
Well, there you go.
Right. Okay. Well, first of all, I'll say there was 557 caps and counting between that team. Starting off with Kasper Schmeichel in goal. Played with Kasper at Falkirk. One of the most arrogant people I've ever met in the game. Quick story. We went to Portugal during the break, and Kasper had just signed for Falkirk, and he was from Man City, Peter Schmeichel's boy, you know. So we're doing a shooting drill at the end with Big Yogi, and Barry will tell you, never try and chip a goalie. So I didn't know Kasper. It was basically the first time I'd ever trained him. So doing a shooting drill, and I try to chip him, and I'm short with the chip, and he catches it, and I swear to God, we're in Portugal, he launches it, it ends up bouncing over the fence, onto the beach, onto the road, and then I looked to Yogi, and I said to Yogi, what's that? He says, if you're going to chip him, you better score, go and get your ball. So I basically missed the last half an hour's training. I had to go and get the ball. There was people sunbathing on the beach, and I'm going to do my polties on in the Algarve. Trying to fish, but he was a top keeper, but he was a horrible man. Wasn't a great guy. No, didn't like him at all. But great goalie. Didier Agath. I mean, Barry's played against Didier as well. Didier, I think, in the early 2000s was possibly one of the best right wing backs in Europe. I think he was that good. He came to Hibs. Alec McLeish signed him from Raith Rovers for 30 grand, and he only gave him a 6-month contract. So I don't know how that worked, but the first game we played, he ran amok. He scored 2 goals against Dundee United. We won 3-0, and then the week later, he scored another 2 against Dundee. And then Martin O'Neill signed him for, I don't know what the fee was. It must have been a nominal fee because he was out with Connell on a 3-month deal.
I think it was 50,000.
It was 50 grand or something.
That's unbelievable.
And Hibs couldn't. But he played as a striker for Hibs. He played up front. He played as a striker. And it was a masterstroke from Martin O'Neill to put him to right wing back.
I don't know if you remember, I'm sure, see the old firm games. Didier Agath down the right-hand side against Arthur Newman. That battle. That was it was unbelievable. 2 machines. It was great to play in and watch the two play against each other.
But you look at Didier Agath and you think he's after Henrik Larsson, he must be one of the best bargain buys Celtic have had in the last 20-30 years. Go to the other side, James McLean. I played with young James at Derry City. I don't know if did you play with him at Birmingham, Barry?
No.
I'd have been interested. No, but
Barry's laughing at him for other reasons.
Yes.
I somehow don't think we would have got on with each other.
It's interesting that I've put James and Gaza in the same team. You'd have one playing the flute and one a balaclava on.
Yeah. Not quite what I was looking for you to say, Tam, to be honest with you. Hey, he's been on for him today, Roughie, hasn't he? I mean, he's absolutely slaughtered. He's slaughtered Kasper Schmeichel. Do you know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of Frank McGarvey. Just slaughters everybody.
Well, I can't see his front three. Who's your front three?
My front three is Russell Latipi playing behind Derek Riordan and Kenny Miller. Derek Riordan, for me, was one of the most talented players I've ever played with. And Kenny, Barry knows Kenny well as well. Kenny, when he was at Hibs, was electric. He was an unbelievable player. I think Rangers signed him for £1 million, £2 million. Alec McLeish went there, and he was behind some top players. He never really, his first opportunity at Rangers, but he went on and had a great career, and he'll still be playing at 40 years old, Kenny. Shows you what kind of professional he was as well. And I think he was a very underrated player. I think he was a really good footballer as well. Good player.
So obviously when we're picking the team, Peter, it's just club players that you played with and all that. International players or anything like that, no. He's no picked any international players.
Well, he's picked Darren Fletcher. There's Darren Fletcher.
Darren Fletcher, Roughie, I played with Scotland under 21s with.
All right, so we're counting under 21 as well. We're counting under 18. What about schoolboy? Schoolboy.
Stop.
He's a bad man.
Oh,
he is a bad man.
Moralising him.
What about somebody? There's a couple of them he just bumped into down the tune.
Anyway, listen, Tam, I did actually, I was hoping that you were going to just quickly scoot through it without giving us in-depth analysis, but two quick ones on it. You've got Brownie there. I knew you'd have Scott Brown in there, but what about Soze and Gascoigne?
Well, Frank Soze was probably the best player I've ever played with. You know, I think he was an unbelievable player, won a European Cup with Marseille. And one thing I liked about Frank was how humble he was. You know, and Frank had 40 caps for France and won the European Cup, came into Marseille to Hibs from Atlanta and Serie A, and he was one of the guys. And an interesting story with that one was Alan McLeish came in with Willie Mackay, was Frank Soze's agent. And Frank Soze came into the dressing room. We all knew Frank Soze with the games against Rangers. He was quite famous here in Scotland for that Marseille team. And Alec McLeish said, "Listen, boys, we're having an 11v11 on the pitch." He says, "So just get out and get ready." And he wanted to have a look to see what Frank's legs were like. Frank was 34, I think, and he just wanted to see if he still had the legs for the job. So we went out and he put me and Kenny Miller, two of the fastest boys at Hibs at the time. I was just a bit younger than Kenny. And he put us two right up front against Frank Soze. Frank Soze played in a three at the back. So he's obviously thinking, you know, get some pace up against him, see what he's like. And honestly, for 20, 30 minutes, me and Kenny Miller couldn't get in behind Frank. Every time he tried running behind, he was already standing there. He was 3 or 4 yards ahead, upstairs. And I turned into Kenny and going, "Kenny, this guy can't run. We can't get in behind him." And I think after half an hour, Alec McLeish shouted, "Frank, that's you, off you come." And Frank signed the next day. I think it was just an exercise to see how fit he was and if he still had the legs. But he was a tremendous player. Gaza, I played with Boston United. That was Gaza's last professional club. I actually stayed with Gaza in a hotel for 6 weeks when I went down there. And one of the most kindest-hearted guys I've ever came across. Listen, he was well past his best by then. He was 34, 35, and he was past it. But he still would be glimpses. We played Fulham in the League Cup with Boston, and Gaza was playing against some Premiership players, and he held his own even at 34, 35. Top player, top person, done a lot for charity, gave a lot of his money away, as you all know. But that was, you know, just to even been in the same room as him, in the same team as him, was a real honour for me. I was in awe of the guy, even though I was a Celtic fan growing up. I still know class when I see it, and he was absolutely magnificent for Rangers.
Wow, I didn't know that, Tam. You were a Celtic fan when you were growing up. God, this show is just unbelievable.
Everything's coming out now, isn't it?
What's it like,
That's unbelievable. DJ, Celtic supporter.
Oh, I know.
Isn't it?
Is there any beginning to his talents? It's unbelievable. Anyway, apart from that, Barry, what do you make of Tam's team?
Full of quality, good team. I mean, I've played with obviously a few of the guys in his team at international level and at club level. So no, it's a strong team. But I think my 11 will beat his 11. I'll need to have a couple of days, Peter, because there need to be a few admissions. A few guys will be disappointed. It's always hard doing it because
2 days. That's what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, Tam will get a bit of stick for some players. How pick me? That's the way it is. I'm sure, but I'll go with it. I'll have mine for Friday, Peter.
Roughie, can you have
a good team, Tam? Good team.
Tomorrow. Is it just a mixture of club and international? Or
Roughie,
is that the way it is?
Your team is anybody you've played with. That's the same as Tam.
Okay.
And I'm going to say to you right now, and I like Barry, he's a great lad. He's a brilliant lad. But Roughie, let's be honest about it. I reckon your team is going to pump both their sides. Is that fair?
Well, I think I've not decided who. I've not decided who I'm going
to. Have you seen the football in the Sundays, Tam?
Whether it's Dalglish or Jordan or maybe Dennis Loss. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one.
Roughie, Roughie, I know while you were chatting there, Roughie, I know sometimes you can't do two things at once, but did you hear Barry there? And he said, did you, Tam, did you see the football in the 70s? At the time when Scotland and England were dominating European football, and the first touch of any player in the 70s on a mud pie was immaculate, whereas the snowflake generation can't even control the ball, Roughie, on a pristine surface.
One thing I will say, Peter, I watched the games that were on that Roughie played in the Scotland teams, and some decent players. I thought Souness, I can't remember what game it was. I think it was a USSR. So I thought Souness was different class. But some of the players that Roughie's played with, obviously Kenny Dalglish up front, Hansen at centre back, Danny McGrain's, all guys like that. Some players. But my team will still beat his team.
What a battle this is.
I don't know if some of them you mentioned will get in my team, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Michael Creighton says Roughie's team will win it hands down. So it's going to be an interesting one. Can't wait to see Barry's. It's good stuff, all you guys going through all that stuff. Listen, stick with us, because earlier today I caught up with a man who's facing an uncertain future. Ross County have decided that they're going to release some players. One of them was Ricky Foster, and I caught up with him earlier. Well, I'm delighted to say our special guest on the football show is Ricky Foster. Ricky, first and foremost, we've had a lot of guests on here. A lot of them have done some radical things. You clearly have decided, chop it all off and just go aggressive.
Yeah. Why not? Probably too young for a midlife crisis, but hey ho. I wanted to do it when I was younger, when Gaza done it, but I wasn't allowed. So then, now that I'm a grown up, I can make my own decisions. So I've done it.
Well done, full marks to you. How have you handled lockdown? Are you the type of person that's just quite happy with it all and just wait till you get the right instructions?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. It's we've got a decent enough routine. We get up about 7 a.m. to take the dog for a walk, and then go back to bed until about 11. Get up, potter about on social media and my laptop, make dinner about 6, and then play Call of Duty on my PlayStation for the rest of the evening. So it's quite a good routine I've got.
That sounds absolutely magnificent. Me, Tam McManus and Barry Ferguson are heading up to your house on Thursday night once lockdown is over. That sounds perfect.
I know. I think I'm not going to get away with playing kind of being on my PlayStation for 5 hours a night once lockdown stops. So that'll be disappointing.
Let me get your thoughts on, first and foremost, being released by Ross County. What's the overriding emotion?
Well, I knew, I kind of felt that was coming. That I was going to be released, not offered a new contract, and that's part of football. That's, it happens. You move on. I've been in this situation before, as have many others. I don't really have much feelings about being released aspect of it. Like I say, I would have liked to have stayed. I thought I'd done enough to warrant getting a new contract, but obviously the club are going down a different route.
There's a lot of players out there, in these uncertain times, wishing and hoping that maybe some owners, chief executives, chairmen would furlough the players for longer just to give them that security. Is that something that you share?
Yeah, it's kind of been in recent days. It's been well documented. That's my thoughts on the matter. No one knows what's going to happen over the next couple of months. But one thing that is almost as certain is that no team are going to be signing new players. So all those of us that are out of contract who have had the chance at the current clubs to be put on furlough, then lose that chance come, well, for the most part it'll be 31st of May, but some people will be up to the 10th of June, I think, or the 8th of June. Whenever your contract expires, once you've gone past that point, you can't be furloughed by your old team, you can't be furloughed by a new team, and then you're kind of left in limbo.
The one big problem, and I think a lot of people haven't actually experienced it, apart from footballers who are at the cutting edge of this, is the summer is about to bring about a large exodus of players. They're out of contract. They'll be looking about, wondering where their next penny is coming from. Some people were slightly aghast a couple of months ago when the 60% of players could be in that bracket, but suddenly I think it's starting to come to fruition, sadly.
Yeah, I think the perception of football players is that, you know, we all earn enough money and we're millionaires and we're set for life, but that's certainly not the case in Scotland, for the most part, out with probably Rangers and Celtic. But even then, you know, these guys, the likelihood is everyone lives to their means. So if you earn more money, you have a bigger mortgage, you have more expensive cars and more expensive tastes. Now, to suddenly have that cut off is difficult. And for the rest of us in Scotland who don't earn the big money, then we have food to put on the table, families to feed, families to look after, mortgages to pay, and we've now got in a situation where, through no fault of our own and no fault of the clubs, you know, no one can be blamed for this pandemic, but the clubs have an avenue to ease the suffering of a lot of these players by furloughing them for a couple of extra months, which is well within the guidelines that the government set out. And it just seems that they're choosing not to do it. Now, there's been teams, I think Berwick, Dundee, Ayr, they've all come out and said they'll do it. Falkirk, I think Wraith Rovers today have come out and said they'll furlough their players. I'm hearing that St Mirren are doing the same. So clubs are doing it. So the excuses that the other clubs are using, you know, to me, are exactly that. They're excuses. It can be done, and in my opinion, it should be done, because not only are we out of contract, we're not in a position that we can go and get a new job. It'd be different if it was a normal end of the season, you're out of contract, you speak to other clubs, you try and move on, but that's not going to happen for at least a couple of months.
Do you get the feeling, you know, and I'm certainly angry at the situation where a lot of clubs are guilty of self-preservation. Some of them, out of necessity, are wondering whether they're going to survive. I totally get that. But when you look at some of the clubs you've mentioned there, some people are taking not so much a charitable attitude to this, but a collective of how can we all stick together, how can we help each other, which doesn't seem to be the predominant feature of Scottish football.
Well, no, I think you know, that's not only echoed in the furlough scheme. I think if you look at the league reconstruction, I think the bill that Anne Budge is probably proposing to the teams today, or they've certainly had it, and they're to get back to make their decisions today. I think, you know, if nothing we do just now is fair, because of the situation. But in my opinion, the least kind of what minimises the cost for most clubs would be the reconstruction, to go to a bigger league, to promote the teams that deserve to be promoted, to not punish the teams like Hearts, Partick Thistle, Stranraer, who don't deserve yet to be relegated. And it just means probably spreading the money that the clubs would get from TVs and sponsors and such, spreading it out over 14 teams as opposed to 12. Now, I'm no mathematician, but there's not a great deal of difference when you divide any number by 14 as opposed to 12. So, you know, for the next couple of years, could we not reconstruct the league to save all the teams, to make sure everybody's got a platform to play in, and then move forward from there, and then look at it again? If it has worked, keep it. If it hasn't worked, go back to what we've got just now. But it just seems that it's very short-sighted not to do it, threaten the livelihoods of a lot of clubs, but then also try and say, oh yeah, we're all in this together, we want to help each other. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I mean, on that basis, do you think people should start to be told, listen, try and look at this as a moral issue rather than looking at your finances?
I think so. I think, you know, the moral issue is just that it falls down, you know, because legally there's no obligation for anyone to do anything. But if you want to do what's best for Scottish football, you need to keep all the teams that are in Scottish football here for the future. So, and you know, I don't understand exactly the finances of all clubs and the ins and outs thus far. But as far as I can see it, I don't see that the clubs up until this point have lost out on a great deal. Yes, they've probably 3 or 4 home attendances and the money that can bring. But then all your season tickets have been sold. The shirts, people have already bought their shirts that are going to buy them with 8 games to go. You've maybe lost out on a bit of corporate money. but most of the clubs that are furloughing their players, certainly, their wage bills are being reduced by 80%. So what is it, up until this point, what is it they've lost out on? Now, all the clubs are making projections and decisions based on what could happen. But in 2 months' time, we could have a vaccine and be allowed to go back to normal. And therefore, all these cuts they've made and cost-saving measures they've put in place, they were unnecessary. And I think the clubs have made kind of snap judgments based on knowledge now, whereas this furlough scheme would give them 2 months. And then in 2 months' time, we've got a better idea of what everything looks like and moving forward from there.
Do you worry for your fellow professionals?
Well, I do. I've had I spoke to a couple of there's a guy, Joe Macbeth. He's actually from Elgin, so we got on quite well. 18, been at county for 12 years, obviously since he was just a boy. Been told, no, we don't need you. You're not on furlough. So where does he go from here? Another one of them, Gregor McDonald, the same. Been at county for years. I actually had a private message on Instagram from one of the parents of one of the guys who've been released, saying, kind of fair play for speaking out, because my son's in the same boat. And it's not. My point has always been that it's not a great big issue for myself. If I fall out the game now in terms of playing, then I look back and I think I've had a good career. My club certainly have got rid of their youth setup. So then if you're a 15, 16-year-old boy, hopefully you'd see someone that's hardworking and determined and always wants to do better.
Usually when I'm in your company, we're always sharing a laugh together. This is probably the most serious I've ever been in your company for about 10 years, to be perfectly honest with you. So to try and lighten the mood. I read John McEnroe's book, and John McEnroe says he was married to Patti Smith. She was a rock star, and he said, is there any chance I could get up on stage with you, and have a little jam? And Patti Smith just said to him, well, is there any chance you could get me on centre court with you at Wimbledon to play in a game? And he said, don't be stupid. That's out of the question. She said, well, there's your answer. I just wonder, have you said to Amy, is there any chance I can get up on stage with you and jam with you?
No, but for the very fact that I tried to, a couple of times I sat down with a guitar and, in terms of finding the chords, I feel okay, but it sounds like I'm strumming my boxing glove on. Like, I just can't get that gentle kind of strumming pattern. So until I can actually strum a chord or a note or whatever it is that's called, I don't see me being allowed on stage anytime soon.
I mean, she knows her football. Do you get the feeling that she would love to have been a footballer?
Yeah, I think she's got that competitiveness. She loves working out and keeping fit, and she's always telling me that kind of comparatively she's stronger than me or fitter than me.
I knew she couldn't keep her mouth shut. I absolutely knew it.
In that regard, we share that. Certainly, the two of us can't keep our mouths shut. But yeah, so she would have been. I think she'd have liked the kind of the competitiveness and the competition of football.
As ever, I always enjoy chatting to you, getting your insight into football. You're only 34, my mate. I would suggest to you right now, there's a good 5 or 6 years in those legs. Hopefully, I'm going to see you when we all get out playing and strutting your stuff again at the top level. Thanks for joining us.
No problem, thank you.
Magic, hey, Roughie. It's not bad being married to a rock star, eh?
Yes, but before we start talking about that, I don't think we can disagree with anything he said there. He's just preaching everything we've been saying for the past 2 or 3 weeks. And you're right, that he must have a wonderful lifestyle, obviously at night. What is he doing at night?
He actually just plays his PlayStation for 5 or 6 hours. He goes back. Yeah. I thought the bit you were going to pick up on.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit after 7 o'clock. Aye, where's he going for 4 hours?
No, I thought the bit you were going to pick up on is
when he comes back to a walk.
Aye.
That's it, Barry. That's it. He comes back for it. He goes back to bed at 11 o'clock.
Aye,
wow.
That's a life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done, Baz. I knew you'd pick up on that point. I knew you'd be all over it like a rash. And of course, the other thing as well is, I don't know, I mean, I thought it was brilliant her shouting in the background, Tam. She's the power in that relationship.
Yeah, I know the feeling, Peter. She certainly wears the trousers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely fantastic. Well, listen, I'll tell you one thing, Barry. I don't know if you know Ricky well. He's a good lad. He's slightly extrovert, and he's got an opinion. I like him. I like what he's got to say.
Yeah, Peter, I met him on a few occasions, and as you says, I don't mind somebody being opinionated, and I'll agree with what Roughie said there. I thought he spoke a lot of sense regarding the furlough. I don't see the reason why clubs can't extend it, if not a month, 2 months. And as you says, he's one of the players, Peter, I'm sure a lot of managers would be interested in. He can play a number of positions. He's still fit as ever at 34. He's always played at a good level. So I think he would be a good catch when clubs can sign players.
Here's a question for you, Tam. If you could marry one female rock star, who would it be?
Oh, female rock star?
Yep.
Amy McDonald.
I can't. That's the only one I can think of. I can't think of any other ones.
No, I'm the same.
Who's a female rock star, Larry? Or are they two have cut off or all? Female rock star?
Yeah.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
Pink. Oh, I like pink.
Pink. Pink.
Pink. So what about yourself, Tam?
I'll go for pink and all.
Oh, for God's sake, man. That is you're unbelievable. I mean, incredible. Okay, I would a female rock star. It's such a good question. I thought about the question right away there, Tam, and I couldn't come up with the answer. Roughie, if you could a female rock star, if you could marry one.
Back to Ruffy's era.
Do the Pussycat Dolls count as a rock group?
Yeah, are you going for Nicole?
Not any one of the five of them.
Yeah, well done, Roughie. Well done.
Yeah, if you're counting the Pussycat Dolls, you can stick me in there or not.
Right, okay. I'll surprise you. I'll take Katy Perry.
Oh, yes. Decent.
Yep, decent.
I like she changes her style. I like
she's not a rock star, is she?
Well, who cares? Katie's all right by me. Good. Yeah, it's good bit of patter about her as well, Parry. I like somebody with a bit of patter. Simple as that. Anyway,
I like she changes her style, Peter. I like when she changes her hair, different colour. I like that.
And the reason why you like it,
all right, Barry,
because now Barry has softened his background. This is the new Barry Ferguson with his background now that he's got softer.
Therapeutic.
And of course,
absolutely,
Baz. And the other thing I was going to say to you, if only now, Roughie, we've only got one more person to sort out their Wi-Fi and broadband, because Barry has been unbelievable today. Is that fair, Roughie? Whereas Tam looks as if he's on a 1970s DER television rented by his ma.
It's just fading away there.
I've tried everything.
Terrible.
I've turned it. I keep turning it off and on. That doesn't work, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll need to phone them.
The only thing you need is Ruffy's couch behind you. Now you'll be 1970s.
To be honest,
where's Ruffy's throne?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant!
No, that's another room. The throne was
That's another room.
That was class.
That's another room. The other thing, to be fair, Barry, what he needs to do, he's living in Skilbride, he needs to take the 35mm film out of the electric meter so that enough electricity can get through.
I'm running out of power, can't you? I've only got £3 left.
You actually look as if you're in a police lineup.
He does, doesn't he? He really does. It's absolutely fantastic. It's the usual suspects. It's anyway, apart from anything else, thanks to Barry Ferguson and Alan Ruff, and of course Kaiser Soze, who's sitting there as well. The other thing I was going to say to you guys is, if you get a chance, had a little bit of a connection problem on YouTube there. We sorted it. You're all up and running. If you get a chance, do subscribe to us on our YouTube channel, like, share and follow on our Facebook as well. We'd love you to do that. I can tell you that Rangers have confirmed the Hadji deal, obviously done and dusted, but they'll confirm it all once the transfer window opens. And over and above that, the SPFL have confirmed, Barry, that the Premiership clubs will now get a chance to look over and discuss this proposal for reconstruction from Ann Budge. So that's the first hurdle.
Yeah, definitely. At least there's some light at the end of the tunnel. They're going to sit down and speak about it, Peter. So instead of all the argument and everybody guessing what's going to be happening, I'm glad that people are going to sit down and discuss it, and hopefully they come to their senses, Peter.
Yeah, fingers crossed, Roughie. It's got to get past the 11-1 vote, first of all, before we even get to the 32 out of 42.
Yeah, I think that's the stumbling block. You know, that we all know how difficult that's going to be. But I would really like to think, Peter, if it was something like 10-2, something like that, that it's got to be talked about it again. It's got the people who have voted against it really need to be having a chance to convince them that to change their mind, because I wouldn't like to just say, no, it's a 10-2, that's it, binned. I would like to keep talking, keep trying to persuade people to seriously have a look at it.
Yep, absolutely. We will find out exactly how it all transpires. Okay, we leave you tonight with just a couple of moves, Tam, if you've got time. Just some of the best moves that you would do on a dance floor with your wife would be magnificent. Have you got any that you'd like to, so we can practice them? Is there any at all? That's good. That's good enough for us, Tam. Fantastic. Look at that. Absolutely magnificent. Anyway, don't forget, we will have the big competition this week, how to get into Tam's house when lockdown is over for the big disco on Saturday night. Thank you to Barry, to Roughie, and Tam McManus. And thank you to you for watching. Join us tomorrow if you can. John McGinn is our exclusive special interview.
I'll be there.
Special guest. Hey, thank you for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.